we continue our conversations by talking with the man himself, political leader of the PDP, Watson Duke. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Shenell. Good morning, people of Tobago and those fans of Tobago updates.
Right, and since the result of the general election, you have been hitting the ground running, and you are still out there, still connecting with the people, and still trying to be the solution for some of the problems that Tobagoans are having. One of the issues that have been on the cards for a long time has been the Tobago autonomy issue, and Tobago receiving greater authority over many areas and having a larger allocation in the national budget, along with many other elements that play into the autonomy bill. But recently, in your press conference, you suggested a referendum framework to be used to, I'm not sure if it's in the short term or in the long term, to help supplement with that autonomy issue that Tobago is facing. Tell us a little bit about that, your recommendation.
Thank you, Shenell. Let me say that I'm not talking autonomy. Tobagonians are not talking autonomy. That is what the Honorable Chief Secretary is talking. He's talking autonomy. Autonomy, simply put, means some of your rights. Tobagonians already have autonomy, some of our rights. But what does the law say? Based on the 1966 International Covenant of Civic and Political Rights, based on the 1966 International Covenant of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, every single peoples is made a group of people who are bound ethnically, historically, and different things that keeps people together. These people have an inalienable right, a fundamental right, an inherent right to freely, without any external influence or pressures, decide upon their political status. When one talks autonomy, that is a choice from three political status they are making, which is, the first one is independence, the second is an autonomous relationship, and the third one is a free association with a treaty between your country and another country. Tobagonians have never had a discussion on its independence, nor on an association with another state. So therefore, I'm saying to the Honorable Chief Secretary, and I'm also saying to all of Tobago, that is a conversation that we must have according to international law. United Nations Charter 1514 also speaks of the right to self-determination. Even in Africa, there are certain laws among the African unions that speak of the right to self-determination. And throughout the world, it's an international law that can be prosecuted or persecuted in the international courts of justice. So we are speaking self-determination and not autonomy.
Right. And tell us a bit about your recommendation for a referendum and how that's different from what was passed last Friday in the House by this current administration.
Right. Well, what was passed last Friday in the House was really unfortunate for three reasons. One, they passed a motion that says the Attorney General and the Chief State Council or something like that, Parliamentary Council, they would meet and they would decide upon the things that are now in the fifth schedule, the 33 areas in the fifth schedule. They will now decide which of those things should be given more legislative rights and more regulatory rights. And even throughout the debate, they failed to present us, all assemblymen, with a document that say of these 33 areas, we want 10 or 15 of these areas to have more rights or to have more regulatory power, or more legislative power. And these are what we propose. We did not debate that. Just a blanket statement. Give the AG and give the Parliamentary Council that right to decide that. And they if they choose to, would involve the THA. I'm saying it should have been the other way around, where the THA should have decided out of the 33 areas which area we want, discuss it, and then pass a motion that these particular areas, we would like to see this, we would like to have the regulatory power concerning that. That's one. The second one was where they are saying, again to Trinidad, that we want you to review all of the previous autonomy bills. Yeah? Review all of the previous autonomy bills, put them together, and then relay that into the parliament. So it's a cook-up. It's a pilau, or what you call a yaba, where they mix everything together in the same pot, and then come up with this whole new legislative portion for the THA, for people, and saying this is good for you. That is not good enough. What should have happened is that the Tobago House of Assembly, again, should have looked at all of these past and previous or current assembly laws, and we should have infused that with new thoughts and say this is what we would like to see for the people, with the widest margin of error, so to speak, right? Not risking anything because the people have not yet decided. And the fourth one is where now he is tasked with the duty of carrying that motion down to the Prime Minister, and also a policy paper. A policy paper on what? The Tobago House of Assembly, the assemblymen who are here, we are all legislators here. I'm a legislator in the House of Assembly. We have not even seen the policy paper. And he's saying, I'm going to take a policy paper. What contains that policy paper?
I was just about to ask that because last week the Chief Secretary pledged transparency and indicated that he would be making these supporting policy papers public for public consumption. So there has been no conversation about the actual policy as yet.
Even that statement is a flawed statement. How could the Honorable Chief Secretary state, with all the wisdom he has, state that he's going to make a document, a policy paper, open for the public commentary? That cannot happen. It's wrong. What should have happened? The public should have been the one to inform the public policy. Obviously, it's a policy that comes in from the public. It's not a whatever policy. It is not a party policy. It is not the THA policy. It is a policy that comes from the public, a public policy on this matter. So they should have been in the highways and the byways soliciting the views of not their party members, but even those who oppose them staunchly, those who hate them in their guts. Those persons' views should have been solicited, because that's how we form public policy. The good, the bad, and the ugly, they are all involved in forming policy because the policy affects them. He's saying he's going to give a policy, and that should represent the public views. I'm saying those things are wrong, and for those reasons, we demand a referendum. Now, referendum is not legal, it's not lawful. And so we are now saying to the Prime Minister, one of the first things you seek to do is to incorporate in the Constitution amendments a change for referendums. And how and when and by who these referendums can be conducted should be legislated. Having passed that in the Constitution, the next move is to create a referendum act that now guides how it should be done, because the Constitution cannot get into too much details. It's a broad area that allows for, the passage of the referendum. The referendum is the only means known to man, locally and internationally, by which the views of everyone can be solicited and can be documented. You need to know who vote and how that person vote. Not literally, but that person ought to be one who is coming to vote. I could have a room filled with black Grenadians, and they all could keep silent. And if you don't know them, they could say, yes, we're voting for that. But then Grenada had come here by plane, and they have made a decision for Tobago. If there is no documentary evidence to show who is there and where they live and this type of stuff. So therefore, the Referendum Commission ought to act like the Election and Boundaries Commission. When I say the Election and Boundaries Commission are strictly for the purposes of election. The Tobago Referendum Commission, which I say our commission should be named and legitimized here, is now responsible for referendums on making decisions on these hot potato issues where people oftentimes are saying my views were never conducted. Let me just stick this in. Based on the public consultation held in the last incarnation of the Tobago Self-Government Bill and the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2021, there's a report on the parliamentary site that says how few people participated in those consultations. Few people. Of the alleged 60,000 persons who live here, there was not even 5,000 persons who participated altogether by way of email, by way of physical meetings, etc. Now you're saying to me, 5,000 people called to these secret and hurriedly called meetings, slapdash meetings, and making a decision or passing law without the involvement of 60,000 people? No. This is the greatest decision Tobago will ever have to make in their lives, to exercise their right, again, a right. It's a legal right to their self-determination.
Right. And even in conversation with political leader of the IDA, Dr. Denise Soyafat-Angus, she indicated that there has been a call from all political leaders to come together and have this conversation on what would go back to the parliament on behalf of Tobagonians, and what would new consultations look like from the political leaders in this space. Do you agree that the political leaders should be meeting in order to have this level of unity and collaboration moving forward on what a new autonomy bill for Tobago could look like?
Well, let me say this, right? I don't want to speak on that matter because Denise Soyafat is involved in it. And I don't want to add legitimacy or take away from her statements. What she said, she said. But I'll say this, all of Tobago, political leaders, religious leaders, education, persons who are into education, sportsmen, cultural people, businessmen, even school children through their parents should be involved. This is the single most important decision Tobagonians can make, and it must be given time. You can't say they have thousands of consultation before. People must be allowed to change their minds. Today is today, yesterday was yesterday. And we must have consultation. The last consultation they had was in 2016. That was a large, major consultation done by Trinidad. And then again, Trinidad cannot conduct these consultations. These must be done by Tobagonians, with Tobagonians, for Tobagonians, and freely allow Tobagonians to decide without any wrenching of one's arm. And so I say everyone should be involved. While I respect Dr. Denise Soyafat a lot, I wish not to comment, add, or take away from her statements. Her statements are her statements.
Right, and even we have heard from the Prime Minister, and she has expressed willingness to work closely with the Tobago House of Assembly in the short term to ensure that some of those requests are met, but to ensure that that Tobago autonomy issue stays to the top of the agenda. Do you think that this new central government will work in Tobago's favor as it pertains to pushing that Tobago autonomy and making that a reality?
It is the politically correct thing for any self-respecting government to do, to work with Tobago, which is politically correct. You don't want to seem as if you are adverse to Tobago's progress and Tobago's freedom of expression through its political choice. But again, we are not talking autonomy. As long as you are talking autonomy, you are talking a choice which Tobagonians have never made. Throughout the years, we have had politicians foisting upon Tobagonians autonomy, autonomy. Tobagonians don't want some of their rights. They want all of their rights to choose. And that is fundamentally expressed in international law. If we go to the court of an international tribunal now, they can dispute that. When Venezuela and Guyana recently had a dispute over the Essequibo area, that was taken to the international court to decide which area it really belongs to. Whenever there is dispute about land, it goes to the international court under the UN. And we have to respect the rights of all Tobagonians, whether I'm here or I'm not here, whether I'm in politics or not. It is Tobagonians' right to decide. Nobody could decide for us. We must say whether we want to have full independence or we want to have an autonomous relationship, continue that autonomous relationship, or we want to have a free association with Trinidad with a treaty, meaning we can leave if we feel to leave, etc.
Understood.
Yeah.
Now, even as we approach the mid-year budget review, are you expecting good things for Tobago as it pertains to now having a new Minister of Finance and a totally new central government?
Tobago problem will always be Tobago problem. Tobago problem is that education or educated people are suppressed in Tobago. They are made to do menial tasks and not be encouraged to contribute sensibly to the development or the management of Tobago. This is our biggest problem. We are our own problem. And so regardless, even if Christ was supposed to come down and run Trinidad and say, look, I am Christ, we will not get anything in line with our expectation, because our expectation in Tobago is not based on rational thinking. We have an assembly who have failed to present to us things like their audit statements throughout the year. This assembly here. Good. We have an assembly that is gifted in spreading the narrative. They spend money to spread the narrative. And the contributions from the assembly are lacking integrity, and they cannot stand up to public scrutiny or to meticulous scrutiny, so to speak. And so therefore, who will want to throw a bag of money to people who are irresponsible and not giving account when the basic tenets of good governance is not even expressed through the managing of Tobago affairs? Nobody will do that. And the Prime Minister, I assure you, she will not do that, especially when there's a money crunch. We have to show how we have been utilizing all of our money for the advancement of Tobago. What business, private sector business, is booming in Tobago? What are we manufacturing and sending abroad to bring in revenue? Our revenue in Tobago, in the Tobago State Assembly, has been on a steady decline, right? Steady decline from what we met to what we are, what we have expressed in the last budget statement. It is on a steady decline. We're talking about an island that spends about $2.5 billion per year, only to turn around and claim as profit, as revenue, something like about $10 million. Could that make sense to anybody? You are spending $2.5 billion a year, and the only profit you can make is $10 billion. And most of that comes from fees, maybe the licensing fees or this fee, that fee, renting of a place that you own. These are what makes up our revenue. Even the man who is selling doubles, because doubles is a hot seller these days, or snow cone, would make more money than that if you were to give him that large cash revenue and say, look, develop your business. We are failing in Tobago. And so don't expect more money until we begin to improve. And to improve, we need to bring educated people on board, those with the experience on board, those people with a vision on board. And let's build Tobago for every child, for every village, and for every single family.
Understood. Well, Mr. Duke, we're going to take a quick break right here, and
Thank you
we'll be
very
back
much.
right after this. So see you soon, guys.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. Nice, the energy fill the skies.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates, guys. I have been chatting with political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Mr. Watson Duke. This morning we've been chatting about his recommendation to have a referendum as it pertains to Tobago's autonomy and Tobago's right to self-determination. Now, we move ahead with your preparations for the THA election. You were not successful in this last election, the general election, as you went for that Tobago East representation. You did not gather the support of persons during that election. Do you think that within this period, until the announcement of the THA election, that you can muster that support from your district?
Well, Shenell, everybody measures success differently, right? Let's face it. You could be good in a 200 meters race, but bad in a 100 meters sprint. right? Different horses for different courses. I have never been successful in national politics in that sense, right? Where we have national elections and I've been selected to go to Trinidad. So I'm okay with that. The people will choose whom they want and they will live with those choices for the next 5 years. That's their right. However, I've never been unsuccessful where the Tobago House of Assembly is concerned. I've recognized that people vote differently for THA than they vote for national elections. Yeah? They vote totally differently. And so the idea is, let's see what Tobago will do in this THA elections. This is their election. It's more personal to them than the national elections where they vote for who is leading the country. Regardless of how much we profess to want to lead from here, people always look to Trinidad, the big party, and say who they think is going to win, and they vote in that regard.
Right, and even as you look at the polling station by polling station result from that last election, is it possible to identify some of the core areas that you need to work on and the strategies that need to be implemented within the next few months?
No. Different horses for different courses. You may be good in a 200 meters, don't try the 100 meters. You go get lick up. Don't tell yourself, well, nah, I'm good here. I maintain my course. People think differently for each elections. Yeah? There's a kind of makeup you put on when you go into a party, and there's a kind of makeup you put on when you go to the office. And a different makeup you put on when you go to a wedding. Different courses for different horses. We have to understand that time and place for everything. Tobago elections is Tobago elections. There's a certain pride in how Tobago is managed by Tobagonians specifically. And that's what they're going to vote. They're going to vote totally different.
Right. And we, this morning, we're going to open the phone lines and allow persons to call in and interact with you if they,
I don't want to do that. And I tell you why straightly. That, to me, we will see a lot of Tobagonians coming forward who will not critique ideas, but they critique personalities. And I wish not to get into that, because in one incarnation, I was a fighter. I don't want to engage in that type of brawl. But someone come and say, Duke, you're talking nonsense.
No, I don't want to engage in that. What we are discussing this morning is what Tobago actually needs.
If people...
And as it pertains to some of the ideas that you are putting forward, you indicated that Tobagonians don't want autonomy. Tobagonians are looking for that right to self-determination.
They want all of their rights to decide.
All their right to self-determination. But as you paint this broad stroke approach to what Tobagonians need, we are now opening the phone lines for persons to really voice and ventilate what they truly need, and so that our discussion is a true reflection of what Tobagonians are thinking and saying on the ground.
But let me caution you though. When you open the lines, let them come
respectfully. Of course.
All right?
Of course.
Let them come respectfully.
Of course. We're going to take a quick break here and we'll open the phone lines and give you guys the opportunities, if you desire, to call and let us know what does Tobago truly need, specifically as it pertains to having a new government at the central government level and having greater autonomy, having a larger portion of the national budget. Call in and let us know. But we'll take a quick break right here and we'll be back very soon right after this.
You want me to refer them to going in that line?
No. I wouldn't allow it. I'll cut them off. Can I have the head? Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, this morning I have been chatting with the political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, political leader Watson Duke. And this morning we have been having a number of conversations. And lastly, we were talking about your preparations for the THA elections. Now, are you planning to field candidates in all of the districts as you did in the previous THA election?
I don't think why I should not field the question why I should not. I'm not saying yes, I would, but why should I not? When based on the last records of the Election and Boundaries Commission, The PDP got 17,000 votes for that Tobago House of Elections, And like as I said previously, Tobago House of Assembly elections are different from national elections,
But do you acknowledge that there has been a significant shift in the support for the party with the development of this new Tobago People's Party, and a lot of the PDP supporters have shifted over to TPP?
I will not say yes to that, and I wouldn't say no. I would say we will have to have data. We'll have to have cycles of data. And when we have cycles of data, you could then be able to analyze. You can't analyze from one. No statistician who is worth his salt could use one thing and analyze.
So you don't think that you could utilize the data from the general election?
One election?
And the type of support that you are seeing, even as it pertains to those motorcades. So even the faces that you know that were a part of your PDP campaign that you are now seeing in blue, does that not send a signal to you that a lot of your supporters have shifted?
That was a national election, I said to you again. No statistician can make a judgment based on one. The more data you have, it's the better you can make a judgment. Right?
Well, I want to remind our viewing audience that the phone lines are open and you can call us and talk to Mr. Duke and tell us exactly what do you think Tobago needs, and are you in agreement with his statement that what Tobagonians want has to do with having all of their rights, not some.
That's right.
Right, and you can contact us at 284-6597. Now, even as it pertains to what the groundwork that has to be done to make a dent in this THA elections, some of the partnerships and some of the persons that you had working in that last THA election, they are with the TPP. They resigned from the PDP and they are even on the executive of the Tobago People's Party. How are you reconciling this to have the type of structures and the type of election machinery to do what was done in 2021 again?
Yeah, that's a good question, but that question strikes at the root of PDP's strategy. And when a man goes to war, he don't put his strategy out front. So the political enemy, so to speak, will take that and now work around that. I could say we have been very masterful, and we know our craft. We know our people. All right? And let's see how it goes. Let's see how things turn out.
Are you planning a possible partnership with the People's National Movement for the next THA election?
I'm not planning any partnership, but if it requires a partnership to govern Tobago, then I will have a partnership with not only the PNM, but even Fali's party, anybody. We can merge together to govern Tobago.
All right, good morning. We have a call on the line. Caller, I just want to allow you to be a part of this morning's discussion, but also cautioning you to keep it civil, as Mr. Duke would like to have a civil conversation this morning.
Yeah, morning, Comrade Duke.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, I really want to find out what Tobago wants. A very fair question to you. What Tobago really needed? You're hearing secession, you're hearing autonomy. What Tobago really needed?
Very good question. Let me say to you, sir, that Tobago wants its rights to decide. And that will be done through education exercise and through a referendum where everyone can vote. It is a miscarriage of justice to think that Tobago has already decided. Tobago is still deciding. Information will allow a person to decide. This is why we want the information to be without any political persuasion. And we are asking that a Tobago referendum commission be set up that will go into the communities, online, wherever, and educate Tobago, and that people be given adequate time to make up their mind. This cannot be done in 1 year, no 2 years, maybe 3 to 5 years, because it is a full educational process that results in persons making an informed choice through the ballot box. That's the only way we can decide.
THA like to put out a paper and every member, the Burgesses or the Tobago, have a say on it, what they really needed. Everybody have a say, like a general thing where the members could come out and say, we need this, we need that. And the majority, it goes with the majority.
Well, they should do that. But as I said earlier, the last time we had some real going around in the village consultation was public was in 2016, and that was done. It only reached less than 5,000 persons. It actually reached those who emailed, those who would have engaged in social media, given the information, those who would have attended meetings was less than 5,000 persons of a population of 60,000. One cannot use that information and say is Tobago want this. It's an indication, it's a sample, but it is not the trust of Tobago by and large. So it's a good question you want, what Tobago wants. And the same question Tobago is saying, what do we want? We want to have all the information on our rights to be independent, the rights to have continuous autonomous relationship, and the rights also to have a free association with Trinidad. These are our rights, and we want all of those rights. Only at that time, the voice of Tobagonians can be solicited and properly heard through a referendum.
All right.
Why not all the assemblymen sit down together and, come up with one thing, hear the views of each assemblyman and put out something to get that exactly what you're saying?
You will know that assemblymen sometimes are very political, and they will not talk with their political enemies. And therefore, it means some persons will be left out of the conversation, and we don't want that. We want everyone to be involved in the conversation. Those persons from whatever political persuasion, even those who are not voting for politics, they too may want to vote on the type of country they need, and not a political party to govern the country.
All right, caller, we want to thank you so much for your call and being a part of the discussion this morning. Thank you. The phone lines are still open if you guys are interested in being a part of this morning's conversation. But even as it pertains to what the caller asked, the importance of that consultation, as we discussed earlier, it's important to go back. But the Chief Secretary indicated, I believe it was during a short video that he made in his office last week in response to Minority Leader Kelvon Morris. He said nowhere in the motion did it say that they will not be having consultation. Can you speak to that?
Well, again, the Chief Secretary is playing smart with words. The motion is clear that having gotten the motion passed, you will then take the motion with a policy paper to the Prime Minister, where in that is consultation. It's two-step. Motion, pass, you receive the motion, you then take the motion and a policy paper, which means it's already prepared, to Trinidad. And then now, you want to introduce that to the public? Come on, it doesn't work that way.
Do you think that policy paper already exists, and what might have been the reason why other assemblymen did not receive a copy of the policy?
I can't say if it exists and why we don't have a copy. But what I can say, the way the Honorable Chief Secretary is operating is very dishonorable, is very disingenuous, and it does not breed confidence into his level of administration. It does not breed confidence. It's a lot of ism and schism and shady deals going on there. If you are coming to the House of Assembly, we are a house of legislators, all of us. We make laws. Even though we have not made any, we make laws.
All right. Well, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller, and welcome.
Good morning, Wakanda.
Wakanda.
I am saying to Mr. Duke, Miss Felix, I forgot to address you. You are a name that comes from a fine family.
Thank you. Here's
the story. Mr. Duke is still talking.
No, I need you to listen to only the phone if you're on the phone, and don't listen to the TV because there might be a delay.
Right. I'm off. I'm off. My volume is turned down. So I want to know when you're ready for me.
I am ready for you. You go ahead and
And
ask
so
the
is
question.
Mr. Duke. All right, here we go. Mr. Duke, I find your mind is so very clear, so absolutely on point in relation to the topic you're dealing with. But we have this thing called the other part. Are you speaking as a politician, a Tobagonian, or both? Because I want all the things that I've heard about you to be brought forward, because we know the medium is the message. Besides what you're talking about, Tobago autonomy, autonomy, self-government, whatever, you have to prove in the way you are outside of your talk that you are worthy of leading. Because in all you've talked, you have not said who is going to be leading this thing, I want to know who is going to be leading this thing, and where are you going to be as a leader, political, Tobagonian. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you for that.
Thank you. The people will always decide on who they want to lead. It's a free choice. But let me state now that I'm not preoccupied with leadership. I've led many occasions in different realms. I've been successful. I've achieved lots of the objectives that I set out to achieve. But now this is a Tobago issue. And it's about us recognizing that all of us are one. And the undereducated has a right to have a choice in this matter, a voice in this matter, as much as the over or educated, very educated. Everyone must have a choice, and that is what I'm fighting for. This has nothing to do with being chief secretary or whatever. Those are of very little issue to me. What I'm concerned about is Tobago. I'm only one man. And while I'm here on this part of the soil, I will do my level best to bring consciousness to Tobago. Let me just take this in. Some people, this is just a little by the way story. Some people have shared with me, Watson, have nothing to say to Tobagonians. Leave Tobagonians alone. Right? You see how they vote? Leave them alone. Say nothing. But I can't.
Understood.
It's not my
We
nature.
have one more caller on the line. Good morning, caller, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I would like to find out from the discussion. There was an election we just had. It was general election, yeah?
Yes, the last election was the general election.
And in that election, what was the issues discussed?
What was the issues that Mr.
Yeah,
Duke brought forth in the last election?
Yeah. Was it on referendum? Was it what it was? I mean, I think I heard all the parties' issues, and the people voted based on the issues that were raised. And as far as I'm concerned, the issue of autonomy or internal self-government was raised by the PNM, a lesser extent, but primarily by the TPP. And I guess that is why the mandate was given to that party, as far as I'm concerned, to pursue and process this issue.
Thank you so much for that, caller. Do you think that, as the caller would have indicated, that the TPP got that nudge of approval because one of their main focus was that Tobago autonomy thing that, a lot of Tobagonians hold close and dearly to them? And the caller is also asking, was this one of the issues that you kept at the forefront during your campaign?
The caller statements is a mixed match that doesn't match. All right. The issue that was raised by all political organizations were many, and they all varied. People vote based on a line of sight. The worker would have voted for money. Some workers would have voted, some persons would have voted for the job. They feel comfortable. Some folks would have voted for personality. So the issues have been diluted. It was not about Tobago autonomy. So I listened to the worker, to the caller, and I say that he has to rethink his position and understand that when we are talking autonomy, it has to be autonomy alone. It's not autonomy and politics, autonomy and autonomy. But autonomy is a choice. So we have to speak self-determination, which creates a framework for which all Tobagonians by law make that choice. And when Tobagonians make that choice, they can choose their sovereign independence, they can choose to continue in an autonomous relationship, or they can choose a free association with Trinidad via a treaty, which means they can leave if they feel like leaving. So he has to understand that the issues have become convoluted on the campaign trail for election. It's about personalities, it's about music, it's about vibes, it's about a lot of issues. It's about the Prime Minister in Trinidad, it's about their future, not Tobago. Tobago is Tobago, and while it's their future, it is how we live here on the island and not how we live in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a different thing altogether.
Right. And you indicated previously that a lot of persons have approached you after that general election and asked, why keep going? How has moving from a place where you led a 14-1 victory to being a part of a general election where Tobagonians clearly did not give you their support, how have you dealt with that on a personal level?
Very good. Very good. Life will send you rain, it will send you sunshine. It will send you mud, it will send you marble. You have to just decide that today is that day, tomorrow could be the next day. Yeah? It doesn't rain every day, it doesn't shine every day. Every day brings its own merit, brings its own challenge, its own success story, its own failure. Right? Remember, I still continue to lead the political, the THA elections insofar as mandate. The PDP continues to lead that. What has happened there, to me, is something that requires a commission of inquiry. How could people move from PDP and say they're independent and then become a different thing? It's something for a commission of inquiry. But suffice to say, the last records will show we still have 14-1. This is why the PNM cannot move from their position as one. Yeah? We still have 14-1. Trinidad, national politics is national politics.
Understood. And even as we wrap up the discussion this morning, is there anything that you want to say to Tobago?
Well, I want to ask Tobagonians to please be a little more serious with your future. You know? This is not kick sticks. This is not go on Facebook and cuss somebody kind of stuff. This is really about your future. And long after we would have been removed from the scene, Tobagonians must have the right to live with the choice that they make. So let's choose wisely, but let's look at all the choices. You don't walk into a store and say one shoes as a female and say, give me that one. You say, are there more shoes? Let me see the rest. Let me see if I like it. If I'm buying curtains, let me see all the curtain materials. You want to choose. It is the right of all human beings to choose. Nobody could say to you, this is it. Choose the yellow ice cream alone. We don't want that.
Right. All right. Well, we want to thank you so much for your time this morning and bringing so much clarity on a number of different areas, specifically your recommendation for that referendum for Tobago. Guys, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's discussions. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have done and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Shenell Felix, and have a great day.